Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. I'm your host, Amy Beltran, CEO and founder of Irresistible University. Through my podcast and signature program, I teach women just like you how to ditch the body image issues, gain confidence, and lose the emotional weight to look and feel irresistible at any size. If you like the podcast, you're going to love my group coaching program. If you would like to learn more about it, including the investment, what's included, see real client testimonials, and to sign up and enroll, please head over to irresistibleicing.com/course. That link is also in the show notes. All right, guys, welcome to episode 182 of the Irresistible You podcast. For those of you that are Apple listeners, I want to just send my apologies to you guys because we have had issues with Apple for the last couple of weeks. If you are on my email list or on my Instagram, then you probably should have seen that. So Apple, I was uploading my podcast and they were not publishing to Apple, but they were publishing to all of the other platforms, the different podcast players. So I have no idea why that happened. I tested everything out again this week and it's now publishing. So hopefully you're listening to this episode. If you're an Apple listener, you are listening to this in your Apple player because it's just been crazy. So I think we have everything resolved. So today, what I want to talk to you guys about is the concept of putting yourself first. And I think that there are some beliefs that when you put yourself first, number one, a lot of women have the belief that if I put myself first, it means that I am selfish. It means that I am now ignoring the needs of others that need me, especially for those of you that might be a parent or a mom. It's like, if I put myself first, it means I'm not putting my kids first. And that's really not true. The second thing is the belief that putting yourself first is easy, or putting yourself first is glamorous. It means it's going to be easy, it's going to be glamorous, it's going to be enjoyable. And that's what I really want to dig into, because putting yourself first is not easy. It's not always glamorous. It's not always pretty. It's not always easy and come with ease, okay? It's not going to feel effortless. And I think a lot of us believe when we put ourselves first, because we're giving ourselves attention and because we're giving ourselves, time, that it should feel effortless. And that's not the case. So the concept of putting yourself first means that you are prioritizing your well-being. You are prioritizing your healing. You are prioritizing your self-care. And well-being, self-care, health, all of those things do not come without effort. They do not come without some level of sacrifice on your part. And so putting yourself first means that you have to sacrifice staying in that uncomfortable comfort, the wet blanket, if you will. You have to sacrifice remaining in your wet blanket for the version of yourself, the version of your life that is going to give you more ease. So you're sacrificing your wet blanket of discomfort for a lifetime of ease and a feeling of effortless, if you will. So what I mean by that is when we're talking about weight and weight loss and we're making these sacrifices in the now, today, we're doing it for our future self. We're doing it for the version of ourselves that we desire to become. And we desire to become that version of ourselves because when the weight comes off, when we stop using food as a coping mechanism, when we stop using Netflix as a hobby, our life gains more ease. It becomes easier to tie your shoes. It becomes easier to bend over. It becomes easier to go up a flight of stairs. It becomes easier to pick up your kid. It becomes easier to go for a walk. It becomes easier to walk into a store at the last minute and pick out an outfit that you can feel confident in that actually fits. So you're giving up, you're having to put effort and sacrifice into something so that you can have more ease and effortlessness, if that's a word, in the future. And these sacrifices and these moments of pain, whether it's physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, these moments of pain are going to bring you into the version of yourself that you want to be. So putting yourself first doesn't always feel comfortable. It doesn't always feel easy. And let me give some examples. So I'll give one about food. So like this morning, I decided I was going to get Chick-fil-A on the way to work. And when I'm not really in the zone and I'm not making good decisions and I'm not consciously eating and I'm more like zombie eating, I usually get like the number one, the butter biscuit, the chicken. I do trade the hash browns for the yogurt, which I found out the yogurt is actually like, if you do points, it's like way more points. And when I added all of that up, y'all, it was crazy. So I actually took the time this morning to not have a knee-jerk reaction. The knee-jerk reaction was I can sit at the traffic light, I can go on the app, I can order the number one, bing, bang, boom, it's done. I decided to open my phone, open the Weight Watchers app, and look up the points of what I wanted to order. And so one of the other things I like to eat there is it's like a chicken egg hash brown bowl. Well, normally if I do that, then it's like, oh, get the chicken nuggets. It's like, no, let's do the grilled chicken. And when I look that up, we're talking about 4 points. When I look up the biscuit, it's 16 points. The yogurt is 11. So between that biscuit and the yogurt, I've basically killed almost my entire day of points. When I look at the bowl, it's 4 points. Like, this is what we need to be doing. Did I want to eat grilled chicken? Not really. But this is one of those times where making that choice, even though it may not be the choice you want to make necessarily, that is an example of putting yourself first. Because what I'm now doing is I'm telling myself that I am important enough to make these choices to get the weight off, to make these choices so that I can have the ease of doing things like I already mentioned. That is actually putting yourself first. Overindulging, going over your points, going over your whatever it is you're doing to track the way that you eat, going over your limit, binge eating, emotional eating, whatever it is not a form of putting yourself first. That is the epitome of putting yourself last, because you're telling yourself, I don't care enough about my future. I only care enough in this moment to be selfish, to get what I want, when I want. I want to eat this. Ain't nobody going to tell me nothing. And to just be in that moment of ordering the shit instead of ordering the food or making the food that's going to fuel your body, that's going to get you closer to reach your goals. That is putting yourself first. So putting yourself first does not mean, living it up, eating all the things, not taking care of yourself, living recklessly. No, what it means is making these decisions, making these small sacrifices over and over and over and over again until you get to the point where you are reaching your goals, and you have to make these decisions in order to build the momentum. So putting yourself first is a concept that I want you to really think about. I want you to start implementing. Another example of that would be, I'll just use like another simple example. So, I'm 41 and I decided that I really need to get on a better skincare routine. I wanted to get on a like a more medical grade skincare routine to start taking better care of my skin. Like, let's fight this aging stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I went to a cosmetic dermatology appointment and had a consultation, and I got a medical grade skincare line. And there's like 5 steps in this process. Okay. And I love taking care of my skin. Like, I love makeup, but I love the feeling at night of when you take your makeup off and like do all your skin stuff. But it's a pretty, lengthy routine. It doesn't take a ton of time, but it takes time, okay? And so doing that routine and taking better care of my skin is putting myself first. But sometimes in the moment when I'm tired, I stayed up too late, I just want to like melt myself into the bed. You're like, oh God, I got to go do that routine. I got to put all the things on, let them dry, put the next layer. Like, I know. That's putting yourself first, because in that moment, it might be easier for you to say, F this, I'm going to just go to sleep. I'm really tired. I need sleep. And you would tell yourself, well, I'm putting myself first because I just need to get rest. Yes, you do need to get rest. But when you've made these other commitments to yourself that are going to benefit your health, whether it's physical health, mental, or emotional, putting yourself first means I'm tired, but I'm still going to push through and I'm going to get this done. And you could say the same thing with a workout where it's like, I'm too tired. I don't want to go for a walk tonight, or I don't want to go do my workout that I promised myself I was going to do. It's easier to sit on the couch and binge watch a series. Is that easier? Of course it's easier in the moment. It's easier in that, that feeling of exhaustion. But is it going to be easier for your future self? Is it going to make your life easier a week from now, a month from now, a year from now? No, it's not. Because just like making these small decisions and sacrifices build momentum over time to reach your weight loss goals, making these bad decisions where you're not putting yourself first over time builds momentum to gain weight, to be depressed, to be anxious, to just put yourself in that dark place. So putting yourself first is not all, rainbows and unicorns and spa days and, it's not all of those things. Are those things, taking yourself out to the spa and the nail shop and the hair salon? Girl, I'm all about those things. You know that. And those are putting yourself first and taking time for you. But taking time for you also means doing things that might not be comfortable. Is it comfortable to go to your pap smear every year? No. Does anybody look forward to that? No. Is it necessary? Yes. Because in order for me to be the best version of myself, I need to go once a year and have those screenings so that we can take care of business if we need to take care of business, to be there for ourselves, to be there for our kids, be there for our family, right? So going to the doctor, I'm sure a lot of you have had that moment, right? Where you feel something, you feel a lump or a bump or, a mole or something that doesn't look right. And you have that moment of fear. And you have that moment of wanting to just stay in denial like you never saw it. But that is not putting yourself first. That is not caring enough about yourself to be vulnerable enough to make the appointment to potentially get news that you don't want to have to deal with. But if you don't do that and you don't deal with it, it limits your options in the future. So putting yourself first is not always easy. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to always feel good. But I want you to think about, who do you want your future self to be? Do you want your future self to be someone who doesn't have to have these same worries? So when you think about weight loss, it's like, it's going to bring you a lifetime of everything we just talked about, not having to worry so much about certain health conditions, being able to bend over, being able to walk up and down the stairs, being able to go to an amusement park or go to an event or go to something where the first thought is not the weight limit, right? It's being able to say yes to things because you're not worried about the weight. It's being able to look in the mirror and feel confident and happy with what you see looking back. And so we have to put ourselves first in order to make these decisions. It's just like any athlete, right? Like if you're an athlete and you're trying to train for the Olympics or, some big type of competition, you're not going to always want to do that. But to put yourself first means putting in the work, putting in the effort, putting in the reps that are needed in order to get you where you want to go. And so many of you have the fat girl entitlement syndrome, right? Where it's like, I want this, I crave this, I need to have this, and I'm going to have it now, and ain't nobody going to tell me nothing. Well, that's fine. You can be bitter about it. You can have that attitude. It's only going to hurt you in the long run because you're the one that's going to have to deal with the consequences of making those decisions. So be good with it or don't be good with it. And if you're not good with it, then it's time to put yourself first. So that is the topic that we're talking about this week. And I want you to think about ways that you're currently not putting yourself first. Ways that you could start putting yourself first. And if they're not comfortable, to ask yourself, what is uncomfortable about this? How can I do this? And how can I frame this and think differently about this in a way that, will feel comfortable to me? And that's what we have to work on. So this is going to be one of those short and sweet episodes. We're just getting through it and we're banging it out. And I hope that this has brought you some type of aha moment. I hope this has been helpful in some way. And if it is, I want to hear how you're doing. You can connect with me on Instagram. Currently, I am at Irresistible Icing on Instagram, and we have the Irresistible You podcast group over on Facebook. Those are the two ways to connect after the podcast, as well as joining my email list where you will get notified of when new episodes drop, when there are specials and promotions on my program, and you find out when crazy things are going on with podcast players and such. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I love you guys so much. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, stay irresistible. Bye, guys.